This is fun now. Y'all can hear me, can't you?
And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. If you didn't know already by the time we already entered the show, it is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for being a part of what we do right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcast. Plus also as well, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Chris Ardieri and I, we took care of week 2 in the NFL for you. So go ahead and check out our thoughts on week 2 in the NFL. Plus, we cover the disastrous week 1 for many players out there in fantasy football. So go ahead and check it out today, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Also, as well, LakersBall.com. Joe Soro, you know he's riding around here somewhere. In fact, he's right below. But he's also at Ox9247 at LakersBall.com. Plus, he has a company that he wishes that you could support today. That is, of course, Simblades. Simblades with a Y.com. Our good friends Jamie Sweet, who was on previously when we talked about Jared Vanderbilt and his extension, doing his 5 things. Plus also as well, Laker Tom, we do have a time set for Saturday 3 p.m. for Lakerholic Spotlight. Will it be on Jared Vanderbilt? I hope so. So we could discuss more Jared Vanderbilt and the Lakers because the training camp for the Lakers is around the corner, just a couple of weeks away. So go ahead and check out Lakerholic Spotlight and, of course, their site, Lakerholics.com with Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet. Also, as well, Empire Jeff with Empire Jeff TV. You know, he's talking the Jared Vanderbilt extension. Go ahead and hear his thoughts. You saw a little bit of it before in the chat, the best Lakers chat room that's out there, the Lakers Fast Break. But make sure you go ahead and check out what he has to say each and every time out at Empire Jeff TV. Please subscribe today. Also, as well, subscribe to our good friend John McCallion on his YouTube channel. He's 70 pounds down, 60 to go. Plus some great conversation that he has every time out. If you subscribe today at the John McCallion channel and Empire Jeff. And speaking of YouTube subscribing, if you've not hit that little beady-eyed Joe next to the regular Joe, go ahead and click on it today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. We're doing a lot of things. Lakerholic Spotlight. We've got another great team report coming on Sunday, courtesy of the Magic Man. We're working hard to get you even more Western Conference team reports in the upcoming days and weeks just before training camp or even as we go through training camp, plus all the great Lakers shows, previews, and even more. I'm hoping maybe one day we can all get these great Laker channels together to come kumbaya in a nice stream, maybe supporting a charity. Who knows? Maybe one of these days we should try that. We'll see what happens, but we just hope for your support right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Daniel, please, man, if you can, I've got an idea I want to throw by you. Please hit me up at LakersFastBreak at yahoo.com. Or if any one of you have questions or comments and you don't want to put it below, go ahead, hit me up there or Lakers Fast Break on social media as well. But please, Daniel, if you can, we need to talk, my friend.
We'd be greatly appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. My famous words indeed. It is greatly appreciated by me. That's for sure indeed. Joshua Deeds, shout out to you on Facebook. We are going to be talking the Houston Rockets, a team that is in a little bit of a funk right now in regards to their transition. As far as Devotion saying he needs a Joe rant on people that flake. Now, actually, our guest will be arriving shortly, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah, it's Joe indeed. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, no.
Sean works very hard I work to get these guests together.
Like, seriously. So, like, take it easy, guys.
I might need to get off the show so you guys don't have to deal with this stuff. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, we got it. He's coming. He said he was on the way. It's Frank from the Houston Chop Shop.
Let's just get it over with. Like the 400-pound elephant in the room is what's happened to Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah, absolutely.
Him and his girlfriend went to New York.
Former WNBA player,
a
correct?
Yes. Went to it was Fashion Week in New York City, so they were there for that. 4 days later, July 11th, we found out that he was arrested for domestic assault, and he was recently arraigned and out on bail. And Gerald, he's likely played his last game in the NBA.
I agree.
I would guess. Now, we're gonna have Frank on here pretty soon. There are really only 3 avenues the Rockets can really go with Kevin Porter Jr. Because of the NBA PA policy, teams have the authority to exercise extra punitive or repercussions to a player. So, as an example, Gerald, we all saw what happened with the San Antonio Spurs and Josh Primo. The Spurs did not even entertain the idea of trading Josh Primo. It wasn't worth it to them just because of the ugliness of the incident, right? So they waived him after they had extended him, and they had to eat the last 2 years of his contract. And like Joe says this all the time, people make mistakes, and sometimes you just got to eat it and move on. And that's what the Spurs decided to do with the Primo situation. Now, a secondary situation in late October of 2020, when we were all going through the pandemic, Terrence Davis. What's up, Frank?
Hello, Frank.
Hold on, I cannot hear you guys. Give me a second. Let me get my audio.
No worries. Actually, Magic Man, continue with the Kevin Porter talk.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the secondary situation involving Davis. Davis was arrested for domestic assault, Gerald, and child endangerment because there was a police report that said he had assaulted the mother of his then child in front of the child. Terrence Davis spent some time in jail, Gerald, between late 2020 and early 2021. The Raptors eventually traded Terrence Davis, Gerald, if you remember, to the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings did not receive a lot of blowback or backlash making that move, Gerald, for many different reasons that we don't need to go into because they're irrelevant. But the fact of the matter is that was another situation that a team had to deal with a situation of either domestic assault or some kind of harassment. Now, this situation is unique in of its own. Frank was just commenting on Twitter. He had a great tweet where he basically said that it would behoove the Rockets to try and trade him and get something, anything, for the contract. Not just,
and they have to give up what they maybe assets like I know that they have some unprotected first
seconds.
Yeah.
They have a lot of seconds that they can dispense with. But the fact is that this gentleman right down here, Joe Soro, he made an excellent point on the previous podcast when he was saying that he questions the idiocy of people being skeptical, cynical, or downright nihilistic about teams trying to trade a problem and at least get some kind of compensation for it. Demand is correct. That's what a team is supposed to do. The Spurs didn't attempt to do that because it wasn't worth it for them. The Raptors did and got something for it. So Joe is correct. Now, I don't think, Gerald, that there's a team in the NBA right now that will trade for Kevin Porter Jr. No way.
No matter how many number ones you give him.
Would you give up a couple of number ones for Kevin Porter Jr.? 19 hold on, 19.5 points per game.
I'm not worried. He would never play on my team.
Okay.
It was just a matter of okay, how many number ones do you want to give me for me to just go ahead and sit on his contract until I can bail out of it? That's
Right.
he would
Right.
never play a game for
Right.
my
Right.
organization.
Right.
Absolutely never.
And
Never.
he's really on a 1 year
But
deal.
and I'm
He's
just
really
only
on a
saying this.
1 year
I'm not
deal.
saying
Yeah.
and I'm not saying because I would actually trade personally, but NBA teams that have or possibly can make the room are actually contemplating this offers out there because they know the Rockets have some desirable assets. I'm not saying I would take him. I'm just saying
Right.
that there are
Right.
teams that probably thinking about it because there are. I know that they have 2 unprotected firsts from another team, plus they have some of their own that they haven't tied up. Oh yeah, the Brooklyn Nets. They have
Brooklyn with for
Brooklyn
the
Nets.
beard deal.
Yeah, so Brooklyn Nets, they have those unprotected picks, which could be very tasty. Plus, they're a limited number owned that they haven't given the Oklahoma City Thunder, and those could be tasty if they actually continue their progression, like a middling type deal as far as that's concerned. So, in a way, that could be as far as enticing for a team like a Detroit, like a Washington, like some of those cellar dwellers that are out there. So that's all we're saying. I'm not saying I would condone getting him because he'll never play. If it was me, no matter if you gave me 3 firsts or whatnot, whatever, he's never playing a game for my team, and I don't think he's playing another game in the NBA as long as that's proven out. But I know I want to go ahead and before we even get into a little bit more, and plus hopefully we can bring Frank for the Rockets Chop Shop back in here. I know he's still experiencing some issues on that, so hopefully he can work things out on that. I do want to think when it comes to what we're seeing with this specific case. I know the question was asked earlier about the girlfriend. The girlfriend is not asked to have the charges recused. It's actually the I guess the DA's. Excuse me. I'm sorry. The attorneys for Kevin Porter Jr. asking the DA to drop the charges because they don't feel the circumstances are justifying the cause and whatnot. But that's just what they're trying to do. It's just right now the legal pandering that's going about, but it does not look good for Kevin Porter. It does, there are allegations right now, but it really does not look good. The girlfriend had to go to the hospital. Was a vertebrae, like you said, Joe, or the other day, as far as around the neck, contusions.
There's
a fracture.
There's become a little twist in that episode, Gerald, because the attorney for the victim has released a statement that is contradicting the earlier reports that her neck dysfunction was a result of blunt trauma, that it was a previous condition, and they've serviced the physician Michael Bodden to verify that. Michael Bodden is a very specialized physician, Gerald. He's been through many interesting legal cases. He's a known physician in the legal field, but
one of the greatest public pathologists out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So there again, Gerald, and this needs to be said too. Oftentimes, this happens with abused victims, is that they don't want to come forward, they don't want to make a statement, they don't want to testify, and a lot of times these cases just dissolve in the legal system. They just disappear.
Well, we recently had an incident in the NBA with Miles Bridges. Now we have something going on here with Kevin Porter Jr. I mean, the police evidence is speaks volumes, and I'll
Yes.
leave it at that. But it does not look good for Kevin Porter Jr. if he ever plays another game in the league. Shams Charania from The Athletic has reported that the Houston Rockets are actively seeking a trade to trade him out, and likely again it would be something where they get a whole lot of nothing back as far as that's concerned, or whatever they have to, the minimum that you would get back in return for a lot attached to it, as far as if you're absorbing Kevin Porter's contract. And again, this leads to what Joe was talking about earlier in our earlier discussion during the Jared Vanderbilt show, that episode. I think that Joe was very on point when he was talking about how the NBA especially in this latest collective bargaining agreement, should look and focus more on conduct and about how teams should not be liable if severe conduct issues come across, and how they should not continually be viable or liable to go ahead and have to pay out the rest of the contract. Your thoughts again on this, Joe, are a little bit more detailed, because again, this is a very serious situation. This is a very condemnable situation. And you now have a young lady's life that's possibly very, very bothered, very disturbed for the rest of her life in regards to this, and we see all this is going to drag out in the courts. But this is not a good look at all. And if it does come out to be where there is charges pressed and there is time sentenced for Kevin Porter Jr., I really think the Rockets, there should be something in place where the Rockets should not be, liable for continued payment on that contract.
I feel sometimes we complicate things more by not doing the basic thing. Let's look at it this way. Let's say you have a policy in the NBA that says if the evidence says you've done something this heinous, you are now no longer in this league.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Now that solves one issue. You don't have to worry about the cackles that circle around your league waiting for you to make a mistake so they can yap, right?
Because let me ask you this. Let me ask you on this. So Trevor Bauer, we all know what he did. He was accused of, et cetera, and all that. Will he most likely play in the league again?
No.
Okay.
And here's the thing.
Urias is the thing, but that's the third time. Isn't it third strike and he's out on that one?
The thing with Trevor Bauer is it's a little different according to his situation. His was a situation where the abuse was apparently, how do I say, initiated. Is that the right word? I don't want to say the wrong word here. It was allowed, apparently. So,
well, I don't know if it was. Again, we'd have to look at the transcripts to see what
it was apparently allowed. Allegedly, it was welcome abuse.
To a certain point. How about to a certain point?
Right. Which, in my non organizational business response to that is, you idiot.
How about this? Something was consensual until something became non-consensual.
Yeah, I'm like, the first thought I had is, you dumb F. You just got the richest pitcher's contract in the league, and someone's telling you to do this. Even if they're telling you you can throw them off a bridge, don't freaking do it. Go get the hell away from that person. But he's a repeat offender and he's bounced. And at this point, when it comes to men and women, this whole thing with men and women, I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it. Smarten up. Smarten the F up or lose your job. That's it. I'm done with it. I don't really want to deal with it anymore. And what I would really like these leagues to do is, I really want them to support everything, and they can do it. They can support everyone, okay? If a team has a player that does something like this and is no longer going to be serviceable, you need to have some kind of provision in the CBA that says that contract is now not going to get paid out to that player at that moment for the rest of his contract.
Voided
in forever, okay? Then that salary cap that said 120 and he was making 20 is now down to 100. Simple as that. Make it simple. He's not getting paid. The team that just lost a player doesn't get punished because some jackass decided to do what he did, and everything gets in line. You did your job taking out a person who shouldn't be in the league. You support your team, and you get rid of a headache publicly. Like, I don't know why that's so hard to do. It would make this thing so much easier to deal with. Now, we know that there are also frivolous stuff out there, and I get that. Due process is fine. I get that. If you want to wait maybe there's a trial for a year. But if it's something blatant, something where somebody was hurt based off something, I mean, this Kevin Jr. thing is Porter Jr. thing is really, I mean, everything looks bad from what I read.
It does. There's just it does. I don't know if he's gonna, again, it just does not look good at all. I mean, the hospital reports, the police reports, Sean, this is just a messy scene, and
Absolutely, Gerald. And it's not the first incident
obviously
with
for
him.
the victim is what I'm worried about most, and I wish
Well,
the best for her.
the Houston Chronicle had a article today, Gerald, that said this was not the first time that these two individuals had a domestic issue. He apparently rammed his car into hers
Yes, I read that.
previously. He's also been accused in a police report when he played for the Cleveland Cavaliers of punching a woman in the face. And so this isn't the first time with Kevin Porter Jr., Gerald. He's 23 years old, and you've basically thrown your life away because, Gerald, I don't believe Kevin Porter Jr. graduated from USC.
No, it's
No,
just I don't think so. To my knowledge.
and yeah, and so all that. What do we say, Joe? There's nothing worse in the world than wasted talent, and to waste it over getting too hot in a situation you can't control yourself, and you could just walk away, slam the door real hard, pound some whiskey, come back, and go to sleep, and the sun comes up, and we move on. But some people just can't control themselves,
and it comes down to that, which brain is working at that moment, and it seems like lately the wrong one is working.
Good question by Diego. I appreciate it, being part of the great chat that's out there, the best Lakers chat room that's out there at the Lakers Fast Break. Why are they looking for a trade instead of just releasing him like the Dodgers just released Julio Urias for the same basic thing? I will say I think it's just about what the contract that he's currently in, how much they would have to choke if they did release him now, as opposed to waiting if there's a judgment brought down by the NBA that could help bail them out. But the reason why they want to trade that contract, Sean and Joe, is because they want to go ahead and just alleviate themselves now. They don't want to wait for anything like that, but they also don't want to go ahead and just outright waive him and choke on all that money. So I think they would have to at least this year, right? They would have to at least choke on this year's money, correct?
They would, Gerald, because he's really on a. What's up, Frank? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Sir.
Crystal clear.
Oh my
Appreciate
God.
it.
Yeah, awesome.
No
thanks
worries.
for joining us, bro.
So
I just went through.
Oh, go ahead. Absolutely.
No, it was a battle trying to get on, man. But I'm glad to be on. Glad to be on.
We're glad to have you
for the
on.
delay.
Oh, no worries. All
Yeah.
good. All good. It is Frank from the Houston Chop Shop. Please go ahead and subscribe today here to his great YouTube channel. Also, his many appearances all over. I was following him on Bleacher Report and all over the place. Just go ahead and check out the good words and all the great stuff that he does there. I wanted to let you know you got Magic Man up top, Joe Soro as well, and me, Gerald Glassford. Want to appreciate again you being a part of what we're doing. Obviously, when it comes to the Houston Rockets, we want to touch on something that you touched on earlier today, that you did a video of that you were just reaching out to with your thoughts. It is the Kevin Porter Jr. issue. And I think the great question by Diego in our chat was, why don't they just release him like the Dodgers did to Urias? But I think it's a money issue, how much they would be liable for. And the reason why Shams Charania has reported from The Athletic is that they're looking into trading him or trying to find a trade with all the assets they have, or with whatever assets they have, is because of also as well how much of a financial obligation it would cost the team as well, as if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's pretty, correct, on point. I think roughly about 15.7 million would be owed to Kevin Porter Jr. If they were to simply waive or cut him. I think the Rockets are trying to thread the needle between being financially prudent, at the same time dealing with the PR fallout that may come as more stuff comes out. And I pointed this out on Twitter, and I know Sean discussed this a little bit. these things really escalate when visuals, when that photo comes out of what she looked like, maybe it's a nurse at the hospital that sneaks out and sells something to TMZ, or the video from the hotel. When those things come out, the trade becomes, I think there won't be a trade market. So I think it feels like the Rockets are trying to get ahead of it to try to salvage some of the value of his salary before. Now, there's a world where the NBA could still and do their investigation and basically deem him and just void his contract altogether, and where they wouldn't be, held, liable for it. But I don't know if they want to wait for that. It just seems like they're trying to get as much as they can back while they still have some sort of vagueness about the situation right now. Because I think as more comes out, it's going to get nasty.
Joe, did you have
I
anything
have a
you want to add?
question. Yeah, I just thought now that you said that, I started thinking about maybe why they're not voiding these contracts. So by voiding his contract, you remove essentially $60 million off the books. Is it because it would lower the number of salaries going to players, and that would essentially mess up the market? Is that why they're not doing this?
No, the way the NBA Players Association, with these types of events, when a player is being investigated, they don't let the teams really get to determine whether there's cause for that player's contract to be voided. So by rule, the Rockets have to wait for the NBA to make a decision on Kevin Porter, because the arrest was made outside of basketball, essentially. So even if they wanted to waive him, I don't even know if they could, because the NBA still hasn't made a ruling on it. It's more of a players union type of deal, where they didn't want the teams being able to infringe on the private lives of these players if they get in trouble with the law. So I think that's really where it comes down to.
Yeah, 100%, Frank. I mean, I was scanning through the comment section on the Chop Shop today after your video, and some of the subs were talking about the Miles Bridges situation. You aptly pointed out that the Hornets waited for the NBA to finish their investigation, and that's why that situation ultimately ended up resolving itself. Out just because they resolved the Bridges situation one way doesn't mean they're going to resolve it the same way with
Right.
KPJ, not necessarily. But I just wanted to say, Frank, I'm glad to see a positive come from a negative here, because you bringing awareness to women's shelters after a situation like this, I just really applaud you, and I thought that was the main takeaway. Just trying to turn a positive from a negative, and applaud you, sir, for that. Thank you.
No, this is the least we could do. Obviously, it is a big issue. I think the Miles Bridges situation was handled terribly by all parties involved. If I don't know, if we did a live stream after it, like the day we found out about the Kevin Porter thing, and I'm all for recidivism. I always struggle with that word, but I don't want him on my franchise, right? I don't want that guy. If he goes, serves, pays his penance for whatever he's done, and if somebody else wants to give him another shot at basketball somewhere in the world, that's fine. But for me, I think that players should feel the consequence of these types of actions, and I don't see the NBA saying they're a progressive league at the same time allowing players to have not only just domestic but egregious episodes of domestic violence. I mean, for me, the Kevin Porter thing. I mean, if the DA really wanted to, they could push for attempted murder, because
Yes, yes, sir.
strangulation is a So it's a
She
really
said
nasty situation.
yeah, because you're right, sir. Because in the report it said she had difficulty breathing. Now,
Right,
why would somebody have difficulty breathing if it wasn't blunt force trauma? So
right.
that's an excellent point, Frank. You know what, sir? I'd like to segue into the actual on-court product,
Well,
because
one last thing though, because he touched on in his videos, the fact that what Shams Charania had reported is that they're trying reportedly to go ahead and offload that contract, to not have to deal with it, like you said, wait for whatever the
optics.
NBA,
Yeah.
the optics and whatever the NBA comes out of it as far as the investigation. I don't think he'll play on an NBA team, even if he was to be traded.
Mhm.
I understand that the Houston Rockets would have some assets that they would have to unload along with that. What do you think it would take for someone to even get a sniff or be interested, at least to even consider, picking up such an individual who's, undergoing such a issue as he is right now?
Now, this is a hot topic on Rocket social media right now about the value of optics as it relates to business. I have the belief that I'm not gonna like go too extreme either way, but I do believe there is some value to that, and I do believe teams will think twice about just even being associated with this situation because of the
Yeah.
fact that we don't know the full details yet. You could, because I think even if the team does take the assets to trade for him, and right now they're proposing a few like 2 or 3 second round picks, that team still has to wait on the NBA. And then while you're waiting, it could drag on into close to training camp. A video pops up, and now your franchise is tied in with this player. So it's kind of I don't know. I don't know if there's a market for it. I know GMs around the NBA know this, and is it worth a few second round picks to even have any type of controversy on your franchise? And you look at the teams that can even facilitate just taking on a dead salary. It's not a lot of them. It's maybe 3 or 4. So, to me, I don't know. The Rockets. I don't know what they're doing. I hope that there are. I know they're trying to be prudent at the same time. I just hope that they understand how these type of situations are more nuanced than just trying to make the best value, financial move on the margin. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, I think they will not get a trade, and I think they will have to wait on the NBA. I think that's what's going to happen.
Once again, it is Frank from the Houston Chop Shop. Go ahead, check out everything that he's doing today, and subscribe today on YouTube. Go ahead, Joe, my friend.
Thank you.
I believe there's going to have to be an understanding of what that trade will be worth.
Right.
The trade right now is: are you willing to take on almost 46 million or so? Because the last year is a team option, so obviously they're not going to take that. So if it's around 46 million left on the contract, what is going to cover that? What's going to make it worth 46 million? So the first numbers that hit my head were 2 first-round draft picks, especially with Houston likely not, ascending this coming year. They're probably going to be a lottery team.
Plus,
so
they have those Brooklyn picks, Joe.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
And if you pry those out of their hands, the fan base might go crazy. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't. I think at that point they're probably just going to eat the contract.
Yeah.
But if I'm a team, the first thing, and maybe these offers have come to the table. First thoughts in my head were 2 first-round draft picks. I'll take the heat from the public. I really don't give two, what's about what public says. Anyways, I don't. Anyways, I know a lot of these teams do, but make the trade. The guy's not going to be playing. I mean, give me a break, and then we'll deal with the noise until he's finished. But in the meantime, we can wait and see if there's something of value that could come from this. So I totally get what they're doing, and this shouldn't be this shouldn't be how it goes at this point. And I'm waiting. Unfortunately, we're waiting on. See, Kevin Porter Jr. is a good player, but he's not the player, right?
Right.
Mikal Bridges is not the player. The Trevor Bowers, I could say, yeah, he was the player, but he's not Mike Trout or,
Shohei
A
Ohtani.
guy.
Shohei Ohtani,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a little easy, and even Urias is not really as great as the pitcher he is. He's not that guy. So I think what's probably going to happen is you're going to have to get one of those like top 1-2 guys that do something like this before somebody kicks these guys in the rear end.
Like a high-end NFL quarterback, or like you said, high-end baseball player,
because
or
this is
one of the top 20 players.
This
in the
is
NBA.
something they've been battling for a while, and it needs a solution. Just figure out a way to set the CBA saying, look, if you are convicted of something, right, or you have pleaded that you were guilty of this, you are done in the league. Your contract is void. You are not getting paid beyond that. And then at that point, no, the team doesn't get hurt. The guy doesn't get paid. The team can now go fill in that salary with players if they can. I know it might not happen that year, but maybe the following summer. I think, and then you don't have to deal with the PR headache. I think it's time to start looking into this. If you really want to get rid of this problem, you're going to have every athlete scared out their ass if this happens. Because if he's sitting there going, well, I got my contract guaranteed. Yeah, I'm out of the NBA, but I'm still going to make $45 million. And then I can just go play in Italy. They don't care about what I do in Italy. They don't even know what I'm doing in Italy. And that, to me, doesn't solve the problem 100%. It's still going to happen likely here and there, but I don't think it's going to happen. You know, look at the steroid situation in baseball. It's very, very tiny now. Now, anybody who sniffs aspirin at Rite Aid, they get 50 game suspension. They don't mess around.
Right. Yeah. Good point, Joe.
You have to, and that was, Manfred is not one of my, I guess, especially for baseball, ideal commissioners. But that's one thing he did get right, because you don't have to deal with the distraction. And that's the thing, is distractions. You have a problem, you solve it, or you get into that part where you're starting to solve it. The distraction is the constant, well, why didn't you do this? And why did you do that? And we went back on this, the show a couple hours ago. I said, these guys are not babysitters, okay? You're telling me you want to give these guys a private life, stay out of it, but yet at the same time, you want us to know what they're doing all day. No, I'm not going to go look at 15 players every second of the day doing what they're doing. I'm not doing that. I don't care what they do in their personal life. So if you want to have your cake and eat it too, I still don't know what that means, then solve this problem by saying money gets voided, money off the salary cap. Now these guys don't have to worry about trading and killing their teams. Right.
Yeah, so Frank, as we segue to the encore
let me finish this, Sean. Sorry,
Frank, we got
the crowd loves the rants, so that's what I'm trying to give them. Thank you.
So, Frank, as we look on the court for the Rockets, I know there's just an aspect of they might be a lottery team. They're very interesting on paper, though. I gotta say, and thinking more about the situation that we were previously talking about, I actually think they got the leadership to stabilize something like this. Ime Udoka is probably one of the best motivational coaches there are in the NBA. His X's and O's got a lot better too. He's got a leadership group now, Frank. He's got Freddie. He's got Dylan Brooks. He's got Jeff Green. He's got DJ Augustine in that locker room. So he's got some vets and some good locker room guys there. How do you feel that the vets will blend with the youngins?
I think, honestly, one thing about the Rockets' young players is that they are like sponges. They played a lot of bad basketball over the past 2 years, a lot of selfish basketball, but like you said, the leadership wasn't there at any level. So now what we have to see is, what do they look like under structure? We've seen, Jalen Green has been working out with Fred VanVleet throughout the summer. Dylan Brooks has been working out with Tari Eason and Jabari Smith and some of our other players. So you've already seen these relationships start to kind of form. I think what they just need is just structure. And Ime Udoka brings that. He is a very blunt coach, which is kind of not what we had with Stephen Silas, who I think the joke on like Rocket social media was that he was a youth pastor. So that was so that's what they kind of called them. So now we actually have a real coach. So these guys have to grow up real fast. And I think with this event, with the Kevin Porter thing, It is going to be controversy. It is some adversity they're going to have to face, especially with the questions coming up in training camp, which sucks for them. But having vets like Jeff Green and, like you said, Fred VanVleet on the team, former world champions that they can lean on and kind of give them some guidance, I think will help. Now, I don't think they're going to be like a 22-win team again. Most of us assume just by sheer competence, they can creep up into the 30s. Honestly, to me in the NBA, you have to try to lose less than like 25 games. Like you have to make an effort. Like that's an active thing. Most teams can just stumble into 30 wins, even if they're not. Like you can stumble into 30 wins because teams load manage. There's just random things that happen. But to be a tanking team, it is a lot of effort into it. And the Rockets, sure, they could win an award for tanking if it came to it, because we had some nasty lineups out there. But I think we'll be a decent team. Hopefully we can make the play-in or at least be on the peripherals for that.
One of the things that I want to ask, though, Frank, and truly appreciate all the wisdom that you're showing us tonight. Truly cannot thank you enough for taking the time to speak to
Oh,
us
no
on all the
problem.
stuff. Been terrific guest, and we truly appreciate it. The thing we want to ask, though, well, I want to ask anyways, is some of the veterans that you put in here. I mean, the spending spree, to say the least, that they had to do in the offseason. A lot of cash flying around, as we say here. They backed up the Brinks truck for Jared Vanderbilt. The Lakers did today. The Rockets backed up a few Brinks trucks during the offseason. Is it money well spent in the long run?
Personally, to me, it's a complex answer. Big picture, I think, for where we were, how bad we were as a franchise, and trying to get to where we're trying to go. Relative to that, yes, but if you look at it just from the entire NBA, I don't think so. I think that they overpaid. They overpaid for mistakes that were made in the past. And for example, the Dylan Brooks contract, basically, literally, there was a betting website that had the second odds of him going to the Shanghai Sharks as the Houston #1 in the Shanghai Sharks. So I'm not even joking. That was real.
Oh no, we actually
And I don't know who
our
we were.
commenters said that at that time too,
Oh, okay.
especially
So-
after the loss, and then
right, to the
check was going
Lakers.
from
Right.
from leaving to the hotel room, and yes, seeing him there and getting all the razzing and
Yes.
everybody
Yeah.
chanting
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Shanghai,
Yeah.
Shanghai,
We had a
Shanghai.
laugh at. We had a laugh.
Oh, okay.
Several laughs with that
Oh
one.
yeah,
Frank.
they were chanting Shanghai Sharks at him. So yes,
That's crazy.
so yes, definitely. But then we heard
that
what,
was
4
the
years,
market.
90 if he hits
4
all of
years,
his,
90.
if he
4
hits
years,
all
90.
the
And
parameters, yeah. If he hits all
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's if he hits all, I think the base is like 80 something. Yeah, we're
better get
stuck with him, and it's 4 years
you better
guaranteed.
get
It's like it's
39
not a
point
team
get,
option.
yeah, you better get Team Canada, Dylan Brooks. That's all I'm
I know,
saying.
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I think they just had to spend the money. I think they panicked. There was talk about Brooke Lopez, and that really messed up a lot of the things. I think our GM he has a lot to prove this year. If if you're in the Rockets kind of world, there's one misstep after another. Some people could argue the Harden trade was a bad trade for what they got back and some of the assets they flipped from there. So even the Kevin Porter thing, like for him to have this guaranteed contract, for him to be in a position where he's the leader of our team, started with the GM and trusting him with the franchise, which, my argument is that you get a guy coming from Cleveland that got in trouble for assaulting a teammate, and the team basically gives him away for free. And instead of allowing him to feel the burn of rock bottom, you anoint him so he never learned his lesson. So it's just one bad thing after another. We're hoping that Ime Udoka can bring some sense to everything, because when Harden left, it was a bunch of new people there. So a very optimistic season for the Rockets. I think we can probably crack 30-something games, but we'll see. It'll be based on how these young guys develop.
Oh, definitely indeed. Joe,
And
go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, Frank. The next topic I'm gonna bring up, these two guys will not be quiet about. So
Okay, let's
they
go.
love the Rockets draft. They love the Thompson pick, and they absolutely love the Cam Whitmore pick. And we didn't hear it for about 2 weeks on this show about how the Lakers should have picked Cam Whitmore.
Do you have to
Yeah,
remind
that
us?
was crazy. That was crazy. I don't know what he must have done some drugs or something on one of his visits, or
I don't care
got
if he.
caught with
I
strippers or
don't
something.
care
I
if
don't
he
know.
had a coke binge in
Interviews is based
Vegas.
off of really bad interviews
Who
and maybe
Yeah, that's
cares?
possible
crazy.
injury.
You
Yeah,
have the best athlete in the draft falling to the mid-teens. I don't care
he's
if
number
it
20.
busts. Well, what I'm saying is
Number
the Lakers
20.
could
Yep.
have picked them in the mid-teens. You gotta risk. You gotta risk that. Like, what are you worried about? And just I don't know. When Houston got him, and I knew they were going to get him if he lasted to there because they wanted him at 3. Imagine that. Imagine you're Houston. You get up in the morning, you're like, all right, what the hell should we get? We'll go with a safe route. We'll get a mean. We'll get a mean. Safe bet. He'll be a good player. Then all of a sudden, as the hours go, you're starting to go, really? Really? They picked JHS? Really? 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 What? Cam is right there for a second pick. And my instincts tell me I know when Benyama's, I know the Spurs probably had the best draft, technically, really, because they got, Victor. But I think Houston got the best draft if this plays out.
I agree. And the thing is, though, what I want to add on to it, if I can, Joe, you have Cam Whitmore. I saw him in Vegas. I'm actually live in Vegas. I saw him personally on more than one occasion at the Summer League and saw, he was the MVP, or not the MVP
Yep.
overall. I think that was Mobley, but he was as far as one of the most outstanding players.
He was the
in
MVP. He was
He
the
was the
MVP.
MVP. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Mobley was the MVP of the finals and
The
whatnot. So,
championship. Yeah.
yeah. Just outstanding. It had some things that he could work on, but obviously from the sense that we could see that there is a really high level score mentality and a high level player that could be like all-star in the making if he gets the time. But the problem is at the wing department, you guys, one area where you do have a lot
Yeah.
is the wings. So I ask you, my friend, how do you find time for all these young wings to grow and expand into being the players they should be as far as based off the potential they have?
Yeah, that's the question. And even worse, in a worse situation than Cam Whitmore is Tari Eason, which Tari Eason to me is one of my favorite players in the
Great
NBA.
player.
A great player. I actually thought he should have started over Jabari Smith Jr. last year because Jabari was statistically for half the season one of the worst players, literally like the worst player in the NBA. But with Cam, the athleticism is there. Everything is there. What he needs to develop, he's so young and so raw in his basketball feel for the game. That's really where he needs to go. And I think the situation with the Rockets is actually beneficial for him. I'm not, and you guys will find this. I actually like the Kobe Bryant, how he was brought up as a young guy where he got to sit, because not every young guy needs to get out there and play 35 minutes a game, because you pick up bad. Sometimes it's okay to sit and watch and learn. And I think Cam is afforded to do that. Whereas the Jalen Greens and the Jabari Smiths had to really learn how to play basketball on the NBA court. And then the whole social media world is, there are times where they would deactivate their accounts. There was a time Jabari went into like a deep depression. He spoke about it. So all of that stuff to me, for Cam, he gets to kind of be behind the scenes. He might go down to Rio Grande Valley, which is where our Vipers, our G League affiliate, if they want to have him working on his ball handling. I think he gets on the court, not with his superstar upside potential, but he's going to have to get on the court with playing defense, being a hustle guy, and running in transition. So because he's not going to outscore any of the great scorers we have on our team right now, as he is. That may come in a couple of years, but for him, he's going to have to carve out a niche, kind of that KJ Martin role early on, and then build his game over time. So when he is ready to kind of get into his own as a player, then he can do that. But we just have so many guys that can do so many different things that I just don't see his scoring right now as something that will get him on the court. So he just has to just hustle and play defense. And when the coach calls him, because with Kevin Porter gone now, there's a huge gaping minutes hole because Kevin Porter was slated to be our sixth man. So now guys are going to be shuffled around. Cam may get a little bit more burn than he would have otherwise. So yeah, I think Amen Thompson is really the guy I'm excited about because we haven't had a point guard. Kevin Porter was our point guard, and if you guys watched him, he's not a point guard. Um, Amen Thompson is a pure point guard. Reads the game like a pro. He's very, very smart, like intelligent kid. I think on our roster, he has the highest upside of all of the guys we have.
And that's
Period.
why
He's 6'7". Yeah.
yeah, 100%, Frank. And that's why I think in the long term that Fred signing will actually pay off because, like you said, Amin can hit the ground running, and he's a smart kid, and it looks like he'll pick up things quickly, and that's what the Raptors needed when Fred was there, right? And Fred's also dealt with this situation before. He was teammates with Terrence Davis when Terrence Davis had his previous domestic situation. So, like you said, I think I love Thompson. Like you said, he's a pure point guard. I just love big guards, man. And if they can handle the ball, like my name's Magic Man. Like I got that from Magic Johnson, so I will forever be in love with big guards, no matter what uniform they play in, unless they're playing the Lakers, obviously. But uh, I agree with you. Now, as we segue into the front court, you said KPJ was going to be the sixth man. Do you think now Şengün becomes the sixth man? Do you think
Oh
that
no, he's our starting center. Like
he's going to be a starter?
they,
Okay.
yeah, they've actually pivoted. There was a lot of reluctance about Şengün because of the defensive issues. Um, and honestly, it was hard to assess the defensive issues because we were the worst defense for 3 years straight. So it's like the shortest or the tallest midget. So, one of those type of deals. So it was really hard to like really get a clear. But now I think because of how he played in the FIBA, in the Olympic, the qualifiers over in Turkey, he had a hell of a series there. I mean, he was putting up 30-point, damn near triple-double type games, just dominating. He was usually the best player on the court every single game they played. Obviously, it's not NBA competition. He's already y'all know he's a bad boy. Y'all seen what he did even though we lost when he played the Lakers. He's a talented kid. Very talented.
He's special. He's special,
very.
especially in the open court.
Yeah.
Unlike Blake Griffin and Sean Kemp, he actually has the onions to dribble down both lanes and deliver, man. So I agree. How do you feel he fits with Jabari then? Because like between Jabari and Jalen Green, who do you think takes the next step there? Because we know Jalen can score. It's just how efficiently does he score? So they put some, like you said, some really crafty guards with them. You got Fred, you got Dylan Brooks, you got Thompson. How do you think Jalen Green will fare from an efficiency standpoint this year, Frank?
I think the offensive change. Steven Silas was a high pick and roll. Like we were top 5 in pick and rolls despite being one of the least efficient teams, and they still kept on running pick and rolls. Ime Udoka, he tends to run a lot of they do more DHOs,
Yeah.
a lot of putting players in a position to attack closeouts, dribble penetration and kick. All of those lend to more Jalen's strength. Jalen's actually great on handoffs. With the pick and rolls, you have to read the defense, and he has tunnel vision. So once he gets downhill, it's like it could be 10 people in the paint. He's going to still try to score. So now I think it's going to be easier for him. To me, the person I'm really looking at is Jabari Smith. I think Jalen is flashed enough. We know he's going to be a scorer. Over time, as his body comes in, he'll be more efficient. He can take more contact. Jabari was somebody that was slated to be a 3-and-D wing and one of the more elite shooters coming out of college. And so far, he hasn't lived up to that aspect. Now, I like what I've seen from him as far as in the mid-range. I think he was typecasted as a wing, kind of a small forward, when to me, he's really a big man. And he's just was a small big man that hasn't filled into his body yet. Over time, I think less threes, more opportunities for him to ISO in the post like we saw in Summer League. where he can take advantage of smaller players, use him as a screener, things like that. I think Jabari is going to be the guy that really determines. Şengün, I know Şengün is going to have a good year. I think Jalen's going to have a upbeat year. I think Dylan Brooks, hopefully he finds his role. Fred is a consummate professional. Jabari, to me, is the X factor. If he can at least just be an average NBA player, then it's going to do wonders for the team because he really struggled. I mean, JJ Redick on his podcast made a comment that Jabari is basically a player that is like in the middle of the ocean out there without a life craft, just drowning. And that's how bad it had gotten that national podcasts were even commenting on it because the coach on the post game said he didn't run any plays for him. So it's just there is so much bad basketball trauma for the Rockets that we really don't. It's like this team is so new, we don't know what to expect. It could be, bad or it could be really good. But I think that I trust Coach Udoka. I think he's going to be able to get something out of these guys.
Once again, it is Frank from the Houston Rockets Chop Shop. Please go ahead and check out the great work that he's doing today at the Rockets Chop Shop. Right there for you on YouTube. Subscribe to get the latest notifications on when he goes live on the air with another tremendous video each and every time out. He's got a great community that he helped us build. And just go ahead and make sure you support him today at the Rockets Chop Shop. Before we get to his questions and thoughts on the Los Angeles Lakers and where they may fall this season, Joe, any last comments or questions on the Houston Rockets?
Kind of in somewhat the similar situation with the Spurs, maybe a little bit better, just because I think they're going to have younger talent. I'm going to be watching Cam. Honestly, I'm actually going to watch. I have not seen. You don't see that kind of drop with that kind of talent in the NBA. This is not the NFL.
It's crazy.
This is
Unless
not
there's
the NFL.
an injury scare sometime.
There was an injury thing, but that wasn't even. It's more down the future.
Yeah,
he looked pretty healthy for me when he went up for those slams and stole the ball 6 times.
It honestly completely separate situation, but it reminded me of what happened to Laramie Tunsil on draft night.
There you go.
But at least he had something that was
had an oxygen mask picture of it's different.
He was doing drugs, Joe.
Yeah. Which is even more dumb if you think that the people before they drafted weren't, some of them.
But he was slated to go number 1 or number 2, and then he slid all the way, I think, to 13 or 14.
I think somebody sabotaged him.
There's a story behind that, but we won't get into it here.
Really, No, it's I'm going to be watching, and it's going to be I don't know. It's going to be good TV. I want to see what happens with that. Ultimately, that's really what I want to see. I don't want to see the guy fail either. So, by wanting him to succeed, it's going to be one of those times where I'm like, "Oh, you guys could have had the perfect summer. You almost did, but you would have really had it if you had just taken the best player available." But again, that drama's good, and we're going to be able to watch it at least.
Magic Man, any questions or thoughts out there for Frank on the Lakers, my friend?
Yeah, Frank. Outside of the players we've discussed, do you think there's an X factor? I mean, with any of the two ways, any of the
who might surprise
players? Yeah, what's a surprise off the Rockets bench? Do you think?
I think Jacques Landale, the pickup from the Phoenix Suns, I really like him. He's a player that won't hurt you. One of those type of guys that they just come in and do their job. With that center position, with Alperen is slated to be the starter. I think Jacques brings a different dimension. He's not like a DeAndre Jordan or anything like that, but a little lighter on his feet. I think he's going to get a lot of burn. We saw he did play in the playoffs for Phoenix. When DeAndre Ayton was tripping out. And so I think, he'll be good. I mean, for us, just having the drop off, I mean, I know you guys don't follow the Rockets like like I would. Some of the talent drop from our first team to our second team was just disgusting. And so having just competent NBA players, I think Jacques is going to be important. I think Jeff Green is going to be important in the locker room. I'm not sure what their full roster is going to look like once everything is said and done. I like some of the players from their summer league. They had a wing by the name, I think his name was Mayer, really good shooter, good rebounder. I hope they bring him in at some point, but otherwise, yeah, it's just having competent NBA players on the team is really going to be the X factor for us. So yeah.
Our chat was asking, do you feel weird about the Udoka signing at all, considering how he left his previous organization?
No, because and people try to bring up the equivalent somehow, some way with the Kevin Porter thing. One, his situation is obviously is
It's a
more
lot different.
yeah, it's consensual, it's inappropriate. And just like I said, I understand the Celtics not wanting him to come back. That's their just like I don't want the Rockets to bring back Kevin Porter Jr.
Right, it's their
And Ime
prerogative.
Udoka's, yeah, like he doesn't mean the man should stop working forever. Like, yeah, he needs to be able to work. So, yes, I'm fine with the Rockets. I have no issues with that. Now, if he's on the Houston trying to get with, because we got a lot of young players with a lot of young mothers. So if he's trying to do some stuff with the mothers, then we might have to get him out of there. But otherwise, no, I have no issues with it.
Okay, fair enough indeed. But once again, it is Frank with the Rockets Chop Shop. Please go ahead and check out the great work he's doing there on YouTube. But before we head on out, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Los Angeles Lakers and where they stand coming into the season. We've been asking on every team preview that we do across the NBA. First question, though, was mentioned earlier in our chat about how you feel about Christian Wood. He did not leave Dallas under the best of circumstances as he was traded from the Rockets. Actually was given a contract by the Rockets at that point in time as a free agent, brought over. Didn't work out with the Rockets. Didn't work out with the Dallas Mavericks. Didn't work out with the Detroit
Pistons, the
Milwaukee
Pelicans.
Bucks. Yeah. So could this be the time where it's now or never for Christian Wood? Obviously, for the Lakers, it's a flyer at the veterans minimum, so it's not any kind of a risk at all for the team to make. But do you see an upside or some type of redemption for Christian Wood in order for the Lakers?
2 words: LeBron James. The thing, and this ties into the Dylan Brooks, and I'm gonna connect them because Dylan Brooks. The reason to me that you see him on Team Canada, he's playing next to an All NBA guard, in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. To me, those kind of knucklehead players, you got to put them next to an all-timer to even out because they can slide into their roles a little easier. Christian Wood's issue is that he thinks he's the guy, and he's not. And that thought process really makes him do a lot of dumb things on the court. He is a very selfish player, and I'll be very transparent with that. But what you guys would hope is that him playing around one of the greatest players ever helps him. I mean, you've seen what LeBron's presence did for Kyrie Irving. Once he left Cleveland, you got to really see who Kyrie Irving was, as a just a character. So I think having LeBron, AD, and some of these like all-timer top 75 players will allow Christian Wood, if he can slot into his role, basketball-wise, the dude is ultimately talented. I mean, there's no reason he shouldn't be a player making a lot of money in the NBA besides his attitude. So I think this is the first team he's been on that actually has a player of the caliber of LeBron. He's always been on bad teams. So I think the hope for him is that how great the players are helps him kind of play his role. When it comes to his game, he's a great shooter. He can handle the ball. He's not terrible on defense. His size is an issue. But I think him and AD in theory is it's a really great match. Like that front court is really intriguing. He does have some shot blocking. He can cover on the perimeter a little bit. I think that if he works out for you guys, it'll be a big, huge difference on y'all's teams. But that's a big if.
That is a big if. But what was the phrase or comments that was passed around that if LeBron James gets Christian Wood to play at a great level or a good level, consistently for a winning team, that LeBron should be considered the greatest player of all time.
He will pass up Jordan instantly.
There you go. Forget about all the titles and all the records and all that stuff. You got Christian Wood to be a great rotation player. There you go, indeed. Joe, did you have any things you wanted to discuss with the Lakers?
We'll talk about revisionist history. Geez, did you forget that Michael Jordan made Bill Wennington, Luke Longley, John Paxson, Steve
Good
Kerr,
point.
relevant
Very
in,
aged
in the
Bill
NBA.
Cartwright.
And that's
Yeah.
Dickie Simpkins. Who else? What else do I do? Who else do I bring in?
Rodman. I guess we
First
could
of
throw
all,
Rodman in there as a character.
There are great players, and then there are the elite greats. Elite greats: Magic, Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, Shaq. These guys are obviously going to demand a little bit more from their guys. And LeBron's greatest talent is, and the only time it didn't work was with Russell Westbrook. But I'm not going to get into why that didn't work out because it's been exhausted. And you know that, Frank. You had him on your team as well. But LeBron James, his game is predicated on player involvement. And these guys are also young. It's a recipe for winning. It's beyond a recipe for winning. So when someone says something negative about the current construction of the team without actually seeing them play, and we're basing it off of just paper, I'm like, well, I don't understand. Where does that backing come from? Is it really about you not wanting the Lakers to be good, or are you just not accepting the fact that this team is perfectly constructed for an AD LeBron team? It really is. And why would he come to LA when he could have gotten the minimum anywhere?
Good point.
He could have stayed in Texas somewhere, maybe went to San Antonio. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want him. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
Something.
already 2 teams that have run him out.
Okay, so
Yeah, Frank, before we get your thoughts on the Lakers, I just had a question. I heard that the Rockets were looking to trade Christian Wood even a year before they did. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what my intel was telling me. Did you hear the same things?
Yeah, there was I think what they said was that the offers they got weren't up to par for them at that point in time for him. But they really gave him a chance to be the kind of the franchise player. Obviously, he came in with James Harden. They were supposed to be the pairing there. It just never worked out. It just never worked out for them. It just wasn't a good fit. I don't know what happened in Dallas. I didn't really follow that team as closely, but I honestly think that yeah, it's if it works out, it's going to work out really well. I think this is his best chance to be part of something that's not just him. I don't think Luka had the maturity to be able to do what I just discussed about having kind of that great standard, that great player there that's going to be the mark of what everything is and everybody falling in. I think definitely LeBron is that guy. So hopefully it works out for him on y'all's team.
So, with all that said, my friend, where do you see the Lakers again as we're trying to gauge everybody from around the league? They've had a pretty similar, idea on where they see the Lakers. Most have been pretty, much around the same, idea about where they think the Lakers will go. Where do you think the Lakers will end up this season?
I think the Lakers I think that series versus Denver in the Western Conference Finals was probably the real finals. And I'm honestly, I'm a big LeBron fan, so I actually watch damn near every Lakers game. And so I think the team is supremely talented. The way that the team just dominated the Golden State Warriors is apparent. Like the size, the defensive tenacity. Austin Reeves is one of my favorite players in the NBA. He's the best two-way player in Jalen Green's class because people forget he is in that class, even though he's an older rookie. But as a guard, I think he's special. Anthony Davis disappointing, but I think that if he can put together just one season of being healthy, then it'll because at this point he needs to be able to step into that role and be the guy. And I still think he's not being that. He has flashes of, but it's just not on a consistent. He had a great playoffs though. He had a great playoffs. I did like the way he played. The roster got better. added some shooting. Gabe Vincent, I think was a great pickup. Christian Wood, like I said, if he works out, is good. I love bringing back, Rui's coming back. You're getting the core is that kind of took you to the Western Conference Finals is still there, and you improved. The only thing that I would say is I am concerned about is LeBron, and I think Father Time is right on his neck because I like I said, a LeBron fan, he is slipping a little bit. He is slipping. For him, it's going to be, can he transition his game fully to buying into be that 4 or 5 role where he's working out of the mid to high post and kind of going there instead of jacking up a bunch of threes? Because I feel like as when he got fatigued in some of the playoff games, he just started taking bad shots. And so if he stays healthy and he alters his game and some of these young guys can kind of pick up some of the slack, I think that Lakers are a top 3 team in the West for sure. I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be back in the Western Conference Finals. They have experience, they have youth. It's a good mix. They have 2 top 75 players. So to me, that should be enough to get you to the championship game.
There you go. Some great thoughts indeed from Frank with the please go ahead and support his awesome channel, The
Thank you,
Rockets Chop
guys.
Shop. Please go ahead and do so. But before we head on out, we want to make sure we give you as much time to go ahead and, as we say, throw the cheap plugs at everyone out there on exactly where you are, what you want to go ahead and get across, and what you're working on, and all the great stuff that you do. So the floor is now yours, my friend. Go ahead and give
Uh,
everybody a shout out. What
I
you doing?
mean, you've done a great job plugging me at the Rockets Chop Shop. We do a lot of similar, what y'all are doing, some live streams. We do some analysis videos, podcast, F Tank 58 on Twitter, and that's pretty much it. I'm a low key guy. I just love basketball, and I would love to come back and talk to you guys throughout the season because, like I said, I watch all the Lakers games, so you might as well throw me in there. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're welcome anytime you want to come by. You just let us know. But also, we'd love to bring you on for some pre-games when the
Okay.
Houston and
Yeah, for
Lakers
sure.
meet. I know that Sean and I are working on some pre-games, and we'd love to have you on there for that. But also, anytime we have a
Vice
post-game,
versa. Yeah.
yeah, anytime you want to come on a post-game with us, you're more than welcome. You just hit me up or hit Sean up. We're always love to have you on. We love as many voices as possible. Then yeah, absolutely. Anytime we can come on there too. Absolutely. If your audience wants that as well.
Yes, sir. That sounds like a plan.
Sean or Shawnee. I know you said you like to be called Shawnee every now and then, my friend. Any thoughts, my friend, before we head on out? Because you lined up this awesome interview, so you should get all the cred. A big shout out to Serge for going ahead and helping me out as far as displaying where they can go ahead and catch all of his great work.
Well, Gerald, we're just grinding it out, and when you're grinding it out, Socrates once said, "Like falls like." So I just saw all the hard work Frank
What
was
if
putting in.
Socrates had YouTube?
It's not Socrates, it's Socrates.
But Frank, thank you for your time. Highly esteemed mind when it comes to basketball, brother. I really respect your opinion. You're putting
Thank
in
you,
the
sir.
work. You've been a great guest, and you're a friend of the channel now, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right. Awesome indeed. Joe, any last thoughts before we head on out?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for being on, Frank.
Yep. A great conversation. Again, you want to come on one of our pre-games, post-games, whatever. The red carpet is open for you. Just hit us up anytime. Our chat room, great conversations in our chat room. Truly appreciate it. Great questions that were thrown out. Cannot thank enough for the best Lakers chat room that's out there at the Lakers Fast Break. We'll be back tomorrow, Lakerholic Spotlight at 3 p.m. Pacific. Laker Tom is ready. And also, I think Jamie Sweet is ready to tell him that no, Jared Vanderbilt cannot be traded for 6 months because he signed an extension. So we've got one of our favorite people, Laker Tom, always loves to trade everyone on the team, even when they're not eligible.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to inform of that on tomorrow's show as well. But I think you've got a Sunday show with Gage Bridgeford on the for Denver and the Denver Nuggets. Is that correct?
That's right. We'll be talking to Gage Bridgeford from the Denver Stiffs, so it should be a good conversation.
Oh yeah, that was last time. He was very good last time he was on the show. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that indeed. So again, for Frank, please go ahead and support Rockets Chop Shop any which way you can. Also, F Tank 58 on Twitter, which I just already had and said I'm following him now, so you need to follow him too. Please support him today. Great work, Frank. And again, you're welcome back anytime right here at the Lakers Fast Break. But for everyone out there, truly appreciate it. Here's hoping you have a great Lakers weekend from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.